It's funny sometimes how we tend to overreact to things in the moment. I made a video earlier this week about the Lakers in Portland and how the Lakers were going to end up winning that series, even though Portland was one of the hottest teams in the bubble going into the playoffs. Now, of course, the Lakers were god awful in game one. Portland ends up winning that game, and people in the media are talking about that the Blazers could possibly sweep the Lakers in this series, or much less the Blazers were going to pull an upset. And then we have what happens last night. The Lakers completely dominate Portland. Dame Lillard looks to have dislocated his finger. This series could be all but over by game three. All day Thursday, people were overreacting to the Clippers' loss to Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. The Clippers are in trouble. This team has no chemistry. Doc Rivers' team doesn't play any defense. Speaking of Doc Rivers, he was pissed off, and rightfully so, after that loss Wednesday night. He called out Paul George for getting into foul trouble. Called out the entire team for the lackadaisical approach defensively, especially early on in the game. The Clippers were down 15-2 midway through the first quarter. Not only were they god-awful defensively, one of the best offensive teams in the NBA, fourth in points per game, second in offensive rating. They scored exactly 2 points in the first 6 minutes of the game. And I'm not going to lie. The Clippers have developed a habit of coasting. This belief that they're the favorite, they're the more talented team, and believing that that is going to be enough for them to pretty much automatically win. This is a habit that was formed during the regular season. The Clippers played the regular season like it just didn't matter. We're waiting for the playoffs. We've seen this in the NBA before. A couple of years ago, the Golden State Warriors did this exact same thing. It was the year after they won Kevin Durant his first NBA title. Golden State looked bored throughout the regular season. They weren't playing defense. They were struggling offensively. Hell, it would be a stretch to call what they were doing at times NBA level basketball. Now, of course, once the playoffs started, they turned the switch on, won another title. But there's a big difference between the Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Clippers. A huge difference. Golden State, at the time, was in the midst of their dynasty. They had already won 2 championships at that point. The Clippers hold the longest drought across all of professional sports for a team that hasn't made a conference finals. Since 1970, when they became the Los Angeles Clippers, do you know how many times this team has made it to the Western Conference Finals? 0. None. They have one player on this team with championship pedigree, Kawhi Leonard, who, to be honest, should be the one holding his teammates accountable for their approach to this season. Instead, and this is not surprising, this team has taken on the identity of Kawhi Leonard. Load management, this attitude that we're going to be okay. We can turn it on at any point. The Clippers don't have the luxury to think like that. You don't get that luxury when you have never made it to a conference finals, much less an NBA finals. This is a franchise with a long history of losing. Now, that being said, people are overreacting to their loss in Game 2. I'm still not backing off my prediction of the Clippers winning it all this year. Yes, they've got real problems. Yes, I think they underestimated Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. Something I feel like people are overlooking in Game 2, and not everybody, but a lot of people are overlooking this. Doc Rivers didn't have Patrick Beverley available. Even in Game 1, he was limited. He only played about 20 minutes. Now, I'm sure some of you are thinking, Patrick Beverley's a role player. his loss isn't that big of a deal. Yeah, it really is. For starters, Patrick Beverley is an elite defender. You could argue that he's the best defender on this team. Look at what happened in the first quarter during game 1 when he was guarding Luka Doncic. He locked him down, forced him into 5 turnovers. He was all over him to the point that people on Twitter were making the claim that Luka wasn't ready for playoff level basketball. More importantly, though, Patrick Beverley is the leader of this team when it comes to defense. We all know that Kawhi Leonard is more of a silent assassin. He isn't the guy coaching other players on the court. That's just not him. That job falls to Patrick Beverley. If you don't believe not having Patrick Beverley is a huge loss, check this out. During the regular season, the Clippers were 39-13 with him in the lineup. They won 75% of their games. In the 21 games that he sat out, they were 11-10. They were a 500 team, basically. He gets overlooked because he doesn't put up sexy numbers. But you can't downplay the importance of Patrick Beverley. Doc Rivers acknowledged it after game 2. Here's what he said, quote, "He is extremely unstatable because, just his temperament, he holds everyone accountable defensively. He probably talks the most on defense for us as well, so this is not a loud team. You obviously would like us to be loud for more guys to talk. And whenever we don't have Pat, if you look at our numbers, they haven't been great," end quote. Now the problem is, the Clippers aren't going to be able to depend on Patrick Beverley. At least for this series against Dallas anyway. He's been hurt since August 4th. He was limited in game 1. Obviously, he was out for game 2. Doc Rivers and the Clippers aren't really giving a lot of detail on when he might return. It's going to be on Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to lead this team and get them to step up defensively. I say it on here all the time. Defense is all about effort. The Clippers really needed an attitude adjustment. Honestly, after squeaking by in game 1, after they played like garbage most of that game, they needed to be humbled. And that happened in game 2. Now the good news is, when Kawhi Leonard gets humbled, he usually comes back with a vengeance. Look at what happened in last year's playoffs when he was in Toronto. They lost game 1 to Orlando in the first round. Came back, won 4 straight. 3 of those in convincing fashion. Lost 2 straight to the Sixers in the second round. Won 3 of the next 4. Blew the Sixers out 2 of those games. Eastern Conference Finals. Lost the first 2 games to Milwaukee. Then they went on to win 4 straight. Couple of weeks ago, when the NBA restarted, Kawhi and the Clippers lost opening night to the Lakers. The next game, they completely destroyed New Orleans. So all of this panic around Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, the Clippers right now is overblown. Now, Dallas has clearly outplayed them so far this series, but I'm not ready to doubt Kawhi Leonard, or Doc Rivers for that matter. Doc Rivers is one of the best motivators in the NBA. I expect the Clippers to come out strong defensively tonight. The bench, which has been outplayed the past 2 games, will improve. They will get back to where they were during the regular season. Hell, the Clippers are lucky they don't have to travel to Dallas for game 3 tonight, which is what would be happening if we were living under normal circumstances. If that were the case, I'd feel like they might be in trouble. That Dallas crowd on a Friday night would be loud. It would be a tough win. Now, they could be looking at being down 2-1 with game 4 in Dallas as well, but that's not the case. So, if you are a Clippers fan, relax. Don't listen to all these talking heads preaching about the doom for this team. The Clippers are going to be just fine. They are going to win this series. All right, that's all for today. Hit that like and subscribe button for me. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Leave me a comment in the section below. Are the Clippers in trouble of being upset by Dallas in the first round? Let me know your thoughts. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Have any questions, a topic you would like me to discuss? You can email me at BTLKC84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys next time. Enjoy your weekend.